when he's talking about he's gonna kill his dad.
Yeah.
I was hoping in the movie theater that they would not make a joke because I was like waiting for them to make it. Like I was expecting them to make a joke because of the Marvel formula.
Okay, guys. So we've seen Shang-Chi, and much as we've had so much greatness with the movie because it's definitely one of the best of the MCU movies that we've got so far, we do have to address some criticisms. Mainly criticisms we've heard from other people, but we are going to address some ones. We may talk about some ones that we saw ourselves. So I'm going to start with an obvious one, which most people have been saying, that they felt like this movie kind of felt it fit in the whole Marvel formula, especially at the later half, which...
dude, it's a Marvel movie. Of course it's going to fit into the formula.
Yeah, but I guess it got to the point where, in this case, where it's like, okay, they have to have I guess this is a typical superhero formula at this point. It's not even a Marvel formula where it's like, you have to have some final battle with some kaiju or something.
It is the hero's journey. There's only 6 different stories in the history of the world, right? And everything stems from the same stuff. But I do get where people are coming from, because it's this is the 20th Marvel movie. It's maybe time to change it up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Which is on one end, it's good because it works, obviously, but then it is getting tired. I get that sense that that the formula that Marvel has been using up until now, there's space for creativity and innovation. I think they should start looking into doing more of that. But all in all, it didn't really bother me that much for Shang-Chi. I mean, it is what it is. I enjoyed it regardless of the formulaic nature that was present, especially towards the end.
To be on the defense of it, I did feel like, because typically in Marvel movies we have comedy's a big one. I did feel like at moments they took a break from comedy, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And we can really feel more heart with the movie. So
which is good, because in typical Marvel fashion, they will always put a joke in there whenever there's a serious moment.
I was gonna say, don't get it twisted. This movie has a lot of humorous parts where I was okay, this person's being overly funny now.
Yeah, I agree.
They're this comedy is overstaying its welcome in this scene, because some things were getting serious, and I was like, this character is really doing and saying these things. Come on now.
What's an example?
Well, on the bus, the guy that was live streaming, he was funny. Yeah. In the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I love this guy. But then at the end, I'm like, he's not being realistically scared, and I don't know, maybe they're explaining away things because this whole universe is traumatized by the snap.
That's
but
true.
To me, I'm like, come on, bro. It kind of takes me out of it when it's so unrealistic like that. And the same thing, because of the spoilers review, is Trevor, I feel like he also kind of overstayed his welcome. I think I brought this up before in our initial review.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you on Trevor. I think the guy on the train, on the bus, didn't bother me so much because it was an action sequence. And I think comedy and action works better than comedy and serious moments. With the serious moment that Shang-Chi is having with Awkwafina, with Katie, when he's talking about he's gonna kill his dad. I was hoping in the movie theater that they would not make a joke because I was waiting for them to make it. I was expecting them to make a joke because of the Marvel formula, but they didn't. They played it out for the emotional intensity and they just let it sit there. I was like, yes, let's go. That was Marvel has primed us to expect jokes whenever something serious is going on. And so I'm glad that this movie didn't take that route in some instances, and they did take a break, but it was still there. But
don't make a joke. Don't make a joke.
Yeah. I was literally, please don't make a joke right now. Don't make a joke right now. And they didn't disappoint.
My God.
I was happy with that.
I think I also expected a joke at that part, but I guess. Maybe I should appreciate that more, that they didn't make a joke in that instance, because that was a really intense scene, and I think some of the best Marvel movie acting I've seen in a while is Simu Liu's kind of just really heavy, emotional acting in that scene, and the tears in his eyes. So I'm glad they kept it serious in that instance.
I
agree. So
I was gonna say another, I guess this one to me is more of a nitpick than a criticism, and this is something I kind of had, was the language, because I didn't understand why, for example, Aquafina's character, like I get that she doesn't really speak. It's Chinese, right? That's the language.
Yeah.
They were speaking Mandarin.
Or Mandarin, right? Yeah. So I understand she didn't understand. Oh, she couldn't really speak it, but then, she can understand it. And then it seemed like when they went to the mom's land, it's weird how all the people can understand her but can't speak it. So it was kind of this weird thing where it's like there's like a language gap where they can understand each other, but
I guess they speak English in Talo.
But they did. But then it's just weird that they're gonna talk like they already know she can't really speak it, but then they're just gonna talk in that language while she. I don't know. It's just weird.
Dude, that's literally how Asian families do it sometimes.
It's the Asian American experience, or it's like the blank American experience to be able to even just understand your parents, but like not like be able to speak the language. I feel like that's the experience for a lot of people.
Yeah,
I guess.
And like I think I and like a lot of other people could probably relate to Katie on that level. So I was actually kind of glad when she was like, "Oh, I don't speak Chinese." I was like, "Oh, like
yeah,
that's a lot of people that are like children of immigrants. Is like you understand it and you can get exactly what people are saying to you, but you can't speak it yourself." And I kind of appreciated that.
But I guess
Talo was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that on again the mother's land where it's like. They can like I can understand from her perspective where it's like I can understand if I can't speak it, but they can understand what she's saying.
Those guys
but they
are
can't speak
magical, dude.
So it's like
they're just all knowing.
Yeah.
That was a little bit like didn't ruin me on the movie because I think comedy wise it made good jokes, but that was some kind of like a little bit of like a logical discrepancy.
And it's not like they were having like philosophical conversations, dude. It was like very simple commands and very simple stuff that they were communicating to each other. And even Aquafina it seemed like she didn't even fully understand everything they were telling her, and she was just along for the ride. So I was like, okay, that's realistic to me. Mm-hmm. I'm just speaking in defense of that. But I mean, if some people saw like a problem with that, it's probably fine.
Again, it's a nitpick. It's not like a big
I don't find an issue with it.
Yeah, it's not. It's more of a nitpick. But so that was the thing. But I guess another major thing that people had going back to the whole Marvel formula thing was like the way, or this actually goes back to like plot convenience. For example, how for example it took them like they had to go through this whole journey to get to that land. Meanwhile, the villains, for whatever reason, it seemed like they had a problem getting in there. They were just like,
that's because the dad had a map from the two gemstones, and he knew exactly when to go. So because of that, they didn't have an issue getting in.
But wasn't there? I guess there wasn't there like a time thing, because didn't they? That's why they had that monster thing that they had to help them know the timing to get to the land. So didn't they have to know? I don't know. Wasn't that part of like why they had the monster there?
And this might be the movie might have needed to explain it a little more, but the whole thing was that there's a moving maze in that bamboo forest the entire time, and anybody can go through at any time if they know how to navigate the maze. But if you don't know how to navigate the maze, there's a one time a year where a straight path opens up.
Yeah, you just have to know the path.
Yeah, you just have to know the path during that one time of the year. And so, they figured it out and they were able to go through.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the beginning with the pendants. Like they just put in the dragon's eye, and then they saw the water map.
That was in like the grass.
Yeah.
that was stuff that maybe was explained a little quickly, glossed over.
I think my biggest issue is the fact that they randomly included a mystical creature that can guide them to Talo in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
That really, I mean...
Yeah, that was a huge plot contrivance.
There were a lot of plot conveniences, and that was a big one for me. Yeah, I don't know. Did anybody like Morris?
That's the animal, right?
The animal,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's cute.
Exactly.
He doesn't have a face.
I see.
like
this
that.
is where I feel like this is where
face.
marketing comes in, where it's like we need to sell a toy, and we have this nice little.
And you know what? We can save some money by not giving it a face.
By not giving
it a face.
I mean,
do you think maybe that creature was there the whole time, and then just kind of waiting for like the right person to guide through there? Because he's definitely not going to guide their dad to destroy the village, right?
Well, here's the thing. The mom gave them the pendant thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that thing's meant for that one time of the year. So she meant for them to go during that time. she just didn't expect the dad to want to kill everyone there.
Yeah.
Like she loved him and she trusted him. She didn't expect him to get brainwashed by some random monster thingy.
Yeah.
So they never needed that spirit guide.
But he was there anyway. Like, you know.
Shang's mom never assumed they would need him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it was a huge plot contrivance that he was just there.
He was just there just to be there. And I guess they made it connected to his mom by like it knew the mom, right? Previously.
He sensed her passing,
but he doesn't know the kids.
Waited for Shang-Chi. I don't know.
The Morris doesn't know Shang-Chi or the sister.
I think it was a missed opportunity to introduce like an interesting character, or
they could have had something more interesting, like lead them to Talo, or they could have gone on some sort of journey that was like, okay, we had to figure out how to get to Talo. Just by doing something else. It was just like, oh yeah, we need to get to Talo. I wonder how we're gonna do it. Look, there's this magical creature suddenly in this place that we're at, and he's gonna take us to Talo. I was like, okay, I guess you could do that, or you could.
Yeah.
That is a major like criticism of mine.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
I just think a better like supporting character or just more interest in the story of how they do it would have been introduced if they didn't use that plot contrivance.
Yeah, and it's not just Morris, it's Morris and Trevor. And I brought this up in our last talk, but it's like whenever there's something in a Marvel movie that I see that maybe, like if I imagine someone who doesn't necessarily like Marvel movies or know much about Marvel movies, and I'm thinking like parents, older people, or just people that aren't into the superhero genre, if they come in and see something like that, like they're not going to understand it. That always like stands out to me because like I like the movie going experience to be like welcoming to everyone, so seeing stuff like that takes me out of it because it's like, what if I never saw the third Iron Man movie? What the hell, like that, and like seeing that character is not going to make me interested enough to like go back and go into like Iron Man lore of all people like him. Like,
I guess the reverse can be true. It's rewarding for people who do understand.
Yeah.
Is it Trevor?
It wasn't though. Like it would have been cool if he was there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, Trevor's here, and he's like, he has this little 5-minute scene that's played for comedy, but then we're done with him after that. Yeah. That would have been cool, but
he took me out of it because
he was there the whole time.
It just because also I said this before, the second half of the movie seems like a different movie from the first half, and that is partly because of like where the plot kind of starts to, you can see holes in it, starts to fall apart a little bit. And I think I've seen a lot of people also like say the same thing. The whole first half I think is a little more grounded. They focus on great martial arts, great fighting scenes, classic like throwbacks to martial arts movies, right? Like the scaffolding fight, the bus fight. I love bus stunts, scaffolding stunts. And then the second half of the movie, I know some people liked it. I know you like this, Scott, but there's like, like a big CGI fest, monster fight. It gets like really fantastical, kind of jumps the shark a little, in my opinion.
Maybe it's just because I really like that genre.
I
love fantasy, and
that's fine. Like I love kaijus, I love big monsters and mechs. I like a CGI spectacle from time to time, but just the way that the direction that the movie was heading in, like, and I knew the dragon was going to be there, right? Everyone watched the trailer. It was still like a lot for me, like how much of a focus it was on that. And it did remind me a little bit of like Black Widow, same kind of thing, big CGI fest type.
I mean, but this was like ending 1,000 times better.
I agree. It definitely was more unique and creative. I'll give it that. It's better,
but there is some still like dodgy CGI, like that you can visibly notice.
Which parts?
Which parts? Dodgy see, like the
anytime
part
he was
when
running around on the dragon.
He was running around the dragon. The part when he flies
like
up in the air.
anytime his body's like swinging around on the dragon.
Well, actually, he doesn't fly up. The dragon pulls him up. Like that part, or then when they when he shoots the quote unquote rings towards that I don't know what's that. Is the monster also a dragon? The other monster?
Sure, it's
Soul-
Okay, we'll call it
it's
that.
an evil dragon.
We'll go into that in the next
yeah.
criticism.
Bad dragon. Bad dragon and good
Yeah,
dragon.
exactly like that. We'll call it the bad dragon. We shoots in the air. That definitely, like, there
I
was
don't know.
heavy. Like, don't get it twisted. I think it looks. One thing I'll give it. This is where the fight scenes come in. They do a good job of like making it look really cool with the camera and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I forgive about it. Like I forgive it for that. But same time, it is kind of like another CGI.
Yeah.
You know,
But I didn't
just-
think it was bad CGI. I thought it was pretty good. Like it made it seem believable to me.
To you.
to you, I guess.
There are, I mean, I feel this, but also I've seen people point this out, and this is like a criticism of people that I follow and things I've seen like on Twitter and whatnot. So I mean, it's a valid criticism, and
I don't know.
we have to like include it in here.
Yeah, sure. Of course. That's the point of
Discuss,
this.
That's the point.
no.
Obviously,
That's the point of
There's-
this discussion. But
Yeah.
like I like compare Black Widow CGI.
Don't
of the end
compare
of the
Black
movie.
Widow CGI. Black Widow CGI was
shit. It was terrible.
Was booty trash. Booty.
Exactly. So when I watch this movie and the CGI is like it's at least passable and it's good.
Yeah.
Like it's not like terrible. I don't know. Like what do you guys think out there? Like I thought the CGI was good. Like it didn't look terrible to me.
I think
It's
at moments
fine.
it took me out of it. That's the way I'll say. Overall, like I can forgive it. It's not like something where it's like, oh, the
Yeah.
movie's horrible because it had this CGI
No,
moment.
it's not bad,
just-
but the tonally, it's so different from what you see in the whole first half.
My critique, and we'll have a separate discussion focusing on like just the fight scenes. But my critique in as far as CGI is its utilization in some of the fight scenes. So I
Yeah,
didn't
it is.
necessarily
Yeah, it's
mind the use of CGI for bigger stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
Especially with the rings and the dragons. I'm pretty neutral on the dragon fight generally. I didn't need it to be in there, but
Exactly.
I'm not mad that it was in there. So.
Exactly.
I like that it was in there.
Okay, we have different opinions, all of us.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
But I feel like this is a good segue into the next criticism, if I can.
Yeah.
It's just the big bad, the villain. I know, like, Marvel has a history of having, like, generic, forgettable villains. And, like, I'm not talking about the dad. The dad was great.
The dad
But I
was
feel
great,
like having, like, the big soul eater thing kind of be, like, the big reveal. And that's, like, the true villain. And it's kind of something where it's like, what do we even call it? Like, soul eater? Like,
Soul
at this
eater.
Soul
point,
sucker?
Soul sucker. Like,
Okay, soul sucker,
we
yeah.
don't know. And like the design for me was kind of boring. Like at least like the tinier dragons and then the big dragon.
They look like bats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fine, but it's like just them in there didn't seem that serious to me. The stakes didn't seem that high. I guess it's like, what can they do? Because we know Eternals is coming. We know that, you know, Spider-Man's coming. But still, I mean, it would have been nice if there was something a little more like a little more memorable and like cosmic and like kind of on a bigger level as far as like that large scale, bigger threat.
I
you
mean,
know?
maybe it's just a setup for like a different movie. Like,
I doubt it.
you
I
doubt
don't
it?
know if they're gonna carry this on.
I don't think
No,
they're
not the
carrying this
soul
thing.
suckers.
I think this was meant for this movie and only this movie only.
yeah?
I'm 100%
You don't think
certain.
you don't think those creatures have any relations to like Eternals or anything like that?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe
Maybe.
because there's creatures in Eternals,
But
but
yeah.
I feel
those
like they
guys
would have mentioned
themselves
something.
are like not even on the same level and scale as of what's coming in Eternals is like what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, aside from like
I don't know, man. That thing's pretty OP. It just sucks your soul
what's
and
its
you're
name?
dead. It's the Soul Sucker Dragon.
Soul Sucker Dragon.
I already forgot what it looks like.
Soul Sucker. I remember what it looks like. I don't know why. To me, it reminded me of like Blue Eyes, White, or like something from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or
Red
something.
Eyes.
Yeah, something like that.
Black
It looked
Dragon.
like it looked like
Every-
an uglier version of that or
Well,
something.
every dragon at this point is derivative of
other
every dragon we've
dragons.
seen, right? I was like, oh, it's Smaug, like this is
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
or it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's Game of Thrones now. And
No,
it's like I've seen this.
I completely agree with this plot point. I thought they were weak. I don't even consider it the big bad. I just consider it a
Yeah, I
third
agree.
party villain.
Yeah. A
I
separate-
don't like when there's things like that though, like
Yeah.
a third party villain, especially when they weren't. I think we talked about this too over dinner. Like they didn't utilize it in a way that we would have liked, where if like the father kind of like changed his ways, he had 5 rings,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi has 5
Yeah.
rings, and they fight
Yeah.
against the
Set
dragon
that-
together.
yeah.
That would have been cool.
because they would have had to take the time to to do the emotional work of reconciling the father and the son.
Yeah.
And that would have, if it was done well, that could have been really interesting to watch.
Yeah. So this isn't like maybe a critique. It's more like a missed opportunity that is kind of obvious when you think about it now. It would have been great. I think it would have been cool to see father and son working together. And then if the dad still did die, it would have been a
sacrificial moment.
Death.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But just killing him in the moment, in the way that they did, it felt too easy.
It was a Disney death. It was like, oh, he kind of deserved that. He, you know.
And then, like, in the last moments, he realizes he was wrong.
If
and then
he got
dies.
just a little bit of redemption, oh my gosh. That would have hit heavy.
Yeah. Missed opportunities here and there for this movie, but...
Any other that we didn't address?
If we want to talk about more minor ones, like, one would be, like, Awkwafina's character. I mean, it's basically like the idea that, like, she seems to play this role where she kind of plays this, like, hip-hop kind of girl, which
she's like the requisite quirky friend also.
Well, that's that, but I guess most people kind of see it as, there's a criticism where they feel like it's appropriating Black culture, but my thing about this, and I can understand, because I will say, for when she was inside what's it called, Raylan the Last Dragon, I can understand that because it's not really necessary for that character. But in this universe, again, like, she's from San Francisco, so I feel like that's kind of a San Francisco archetype.
Have you ever met Asian people in SoCal or California?
No, that's NorCal.
She's from New York. Like, that's how they speak that's how everyone talks in New York.
Wait,
I feel like the people making this criticism have no idea about, like,
they don't live around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was about to say. That's where I was about to criticize.
For those people criticizing, like, y'all would hate NorCal, you would hate the Bay Area. Like, that's not for you. But she kind of seemed like authentic to NorCal culture.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Bay Area culture.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That critique is weird because it implies things about, like, Black people and, like, the uniformity of Black culture, which I also don't like.
Yeah, it's a very debatable thing.
What instances were they like? Was she like rapping or something?
There was. I saw the critiques that, like, I think she is a rapper, actually.
She's actually a rapper.
Yeah. Her origins is like a rapper from YouTube.
But the critique was like, people are saying that she is appropriating talking like Black people and that she's using it in a way that is inauthentic in order to, like, become... I don't know what the purpose is. Yeah. But realistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And if you know, if you live around different people in, like, a diverse setting, you understand this. Like, people are a product of where they grow up. People are a product of where they spend their time. And if you spend your time in certain areas, you talk a certain way. It's like, I don't get the critique. So.
Yeah, anyone critiquing that should probably not listen to the official album by 88 Rising and everyone. Because those are all, like, Asian rappers and R&B singers.
I honestly want to make a separate video because I do feel like, for example, if you watch the show American Dragon, he's definitely an example of that kind of, like, you know, yo, what's up? You know, he's Asian, but it's the hip hop culture.
What a throwback.
So I definitely want to make a video talking about characters like that, and then this whole criticism, because again, I think it's ridiculous.
Let's do a deep dive.
It's its own deep dive. Its own
to think about,
because there's a lot of conversations about what is African American, all these other stuff, which I don't feel like talking about this in this video. So, but for sure, that's a petty one, and then the other small petty one was the actor who played Shang-Chi. Was he good looking enough for the role? Which,
that's old news.
That's another.
None of us. I don't think any of us shares that sentiment. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I
feel like that's just sensationalized, like, crap right there. You know, like, nobody really actually believes that.
Yeah, Gal Gadot's boobs aren't big enough. It's like everyone's gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
I think Simu Liu looks great. And those guys are crazy.
I mean, overall, to make a small point about it, it's like it's all about the character. Does the person fit the character? It doesn't matter if they're supposed to look like this attractive idea or whatnot.
And that's also another thing. It's like, what is conventionally attractive? Like, what standards are we going off of? That in itself is a problem. So that's like two different problems on different ends of the spectrum. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are its separate own video items. But other than that, I don't have any other criticisms to talk about. Anybody else?
I mean, no criticisms. I just want to say, like, this is like we deep dived into the criticisms, but I feel like the reason we do want to do this, like, nitpick and split hairs, is because, like, we loved this movie and we're excited about seeing more and better Shang-Chi content, better Asian-led films. And I want to see more of an interest in Western culture and, like, those old martial arts action films.
Definitely.
And yeah, I just feel like just putting this out there just makes me, like, want to push forward in this direction, like, for all filmmaking. So,
we know we're going to get more from Shang-Chi. So we are hopeful that, you know, what comes next is going to continue to improve on what we've already had.
Yeah, like, we're not putting it on blast. I know we were called out for, like, in the Black Widow video, we were, like, praising it because we were just surprised that it didn't suck, right? I mean, but if you wanted us to go in on Black Widow, we could rip into it. We could have.
I'm confused because we also put a criticism on Black Widow as well.
We did, but
so I'm guessing
we gave it a lot of allowances. We let some things slide.
But Black Widow is like, it's a one-off, and we know we're not getting any more Black Widows. Like, okay,
this is
it's
not
just
even on the
be,
same level.
It's
like,
not even in the right time period.
Yeah.
Like,
Shang-Chi for a standalone is, like, one of the top ones for me as far as, like, an introduction to, like, a new hero in the Marvel universe. Like, it's great, and I'm inspired to move this forward and keep talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, the criticisms are part of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Don't forget. Tell us your opinions about the criticisms, whether you have any disagreements or anything we didn't see, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
Peace.
Nice. Whoever does the intro does the outro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should do that.
Sense.
Yeah.